Hello and welcome to the Fallout Experiment. It is I, the Vault Dweller, here with another edition of Dwelling on Things with the Dweller. Today we're going to talk about something new, something in video games that's been kind of on my mind lately, and that's the idea of anti-heroes. For those of you that don't know, anti-heroes are essentially, heroes that are anti. Batman could be considered an anti-hero. The character of Dexter from the show Dexter is most definitely an anti-hero. Alex from A Clockwork Orange is considered an anti-hero to some. And, what's another one? Oh, somebody like Light from Death Note would be an anti-hero. So, do anti-heroes have a place in games? And really, what makes a good anti-hero in general, and do anti-heroes have a place in games? Well, here's the thing. With anti-heroes, you essentially have, or at least most times that I've seen, you essentially have a character who is a hero, but only a little bit. For example, say that... what's a good example of this? Okay. Say that you got a character and you're playing this game, or you're watching this movie, or you're reading this book, or anything at all. Say that there's this character, and he needs to stop this, evil, tyrannical corporation, or government, or, find his dad, or, really anything, but, he needs to stop something evil and tyrannical, that's gonna fuck up the whole place. Now, that alone, he's going out trying to do that. And now, what makes him an anti-hero, and what helps make him an anti-hero at least, is what is his moral standing? Say there's this village, he gets injured and these people take him in, and they're really nice people. And for the first day or two that he's there recovering, everything's going well. But then he finds out that they are, employees. Say that you were playing Knights of the Old Republic or a Star Wars game, and you're a Jedi and you're cutting through Sith, right? And then you get taken in by some Sith because you're injured, and they don't know you're a Jedi. Your lightsaber gets kind of broken, and they don't know you're a Jedi. They just, you're not a famous Jedi. You're just some dude, and they don't know who you are. So they bring you in, and they start taking care of you, and then you find out, you see their uniforms or something, you find out they're Sith, and holy fucking shit. Your mission is to destroy the Sith. They're evil. These guys are blatantly evil. Yeah, they're being nice to you, but they're only being nice to you. There's every chance they're only being good to you because they hope to recruit you, or because they're trying to use you. And they go out and patrol, and as far as you know, they're murdering innocents. So, you decide, fuck it, my job is to stop the Sith. There's a giant motherfucking Sith Empire right the fuck there. I have to kill these motherfuckers to get an access key, or just to get there. I have to kill these fuckers here to get to where I need to go. So you slay every one of them. Then you find out that they're not. And really what makes an anti-hero is... So what I'm getting at essentially is an anti-hero is somebody that is willing to go farther than Superman would, and possibly even willing to go farther than Batman would. They don't follow laws, and they aren't necessarily good people. The reason Light or Dexter from Dexter would be a good anti-hero is because because they're killing criminals. And specifically in Dexter, he's killing criminals that are getting away. And he works both sides of the law. He works as a blood spatter analysis to try and bring in criminals through the judicial system. But then there are criminals that, get off because of some stupid technicality, or that criminal that you witnessed did something, and that they saw you. You saw this guy murder somebody, or you saw this guy coming out of a house and they caught a glance of you, and then they just bolted off. You're in a car, you can catch this motherfucker and kill him, and stop him right there. but that's against the law because being a vigilante isn't right. So essentially, most anti-heroes that I've seen in my experience are people that are doing what they think is right, or might even, or are doing what is right, or what they think is right at least, and possibly benefits society, but they're doing it in a way that is against society. You know, they're killing criminals. They're disobeying the law. They're blatantly breaking law, and in some cases they are killing people, sometimes even innocents, because the ends always justify the means. So what makes a good anti-hero is an anti-hero that you can feel something for, because when you have somebody that, when you have that character that is totally willing to kill somebody simply because the ends justifies the means, it's hard to get behind that kind of a character because, well, they're killing somebody, which is why I say somebody like Dexter would be a great example, because he's killing people, and that's wrong, but they're criminals, so is it wrong? So, and you can get into this whole capital punishment debate about this if you want, but is it wrong to kill criminals? Even if, is it wrong to break the judicial system to kill a criminal? Like, is it wrong to go against the law of double jeopardy? Is it wrong to go after somebody because they got off on a technicality? Or is it wrong to see somebody commit a crime that they're obviously committing and then chase them down and kill the motherfucker? Is it okay to do that? And the way that's supposed, and like, you're saying no, it's never okay to kill somebody. But when the character is compelling, when he's a good guy, he's a guy you could have a beer with. He's a guy you'd even let babysit your kids. When he's a good guy, when he's making it seem like what he's doing, when he acknowledges even to a degree that what he's doing isn't right, or that he's a hypocrite because I'm killing people to stop people from killing people, kind of thing. There's that element of, oh, well, it kind of endears you towards this character, because then it's like, a prime example of an anti-hero done wrong is in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin saves Palpatine. When he does that, he's doing it for Padme. Now, that alone is kind of understandable to a degree. Yes, he's the Lord of the Sith, and yes, it's a mistake to do this, but he believes that it is right to save him so that he can save others, specifically his wife. Now, you lose that sympathy for him pretty immediately when he starts slaying fucking children. Slaying children is never okay. Ever. But be that as it may, in the beginning there, you're like, okay, he's doing what he thinks is right. He's trying to get ascertain this power to help his wife, and by extension help others who, are dying when they shouldn't be dying. Complications of childbirth, that's, I suppose that's a natural way to die, but it's not, it's not dying of old age. It's not an incurable disease. It's something that, shouldn't happen at all. And why they couldn't have just done a C-section instead, or why there's still big complications at birth issues in the future, whatever. I know that this was like a whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing, but whatever. But that would be an example of one gone bad. Even when Anakin kills the entire village of sand people who tortured and raped his mother, you're kind of like, well, if it was my mom or if it was my loved one, maybe I would do the same thing. So, in that sense, he's an anti-hero. He's done bad things, but generally he's a good guy. But I digress on that, I suppose. Anyway, with my example of a good and bad anti-hero, do anti-heroes belong in video games? And what is their place? Can they work in a video game medium? Yes and no. I think it's very tricky to do an anti-hero and have it work out. I think the best ways to do it are something like, first of all, there's something like God of War. I would consider Kratos an anti-hero, and even though what he's doing is despicable and cruel, and he genuinely likes it, he's doing it out of the sake of revenge because of what happened to him and his family, right? So can you really blame him? I mean, if somebody murdered your wife, if something happened to your wife and kids, like say somebody murdered them, you would want revenge. That would be your first instinct. Now, chances are you wouldn't get that. In a sense of going out and killing the guy. You might try and take him to court and through the justice system. If that didn't work, like if for some reason the prosecution botched something, they sent a piece of evidence to the wrong place, your next instinct, and I can almost guarantee this, would be to get a gun and shoot this motherfucker down. So, are you justified in that? Then you get into a debate about morality. Some people are going to say, no, it's not okay to kill people. But deep down, those people will understand. And that is how a good anti-hero works. And that is kind of a very rough idea of how a good anti-hero works. Somebody that is doing something evil, or something that goes against the laws and rules of society for the sake of something of a greater goal, whether that be the betterment of society as a whole, where the ends would justify the means, or simply revenge, but they do so for an endearing cause. So, it can work in that setting, and 1 second, and it could probably work in, I don't have it out there, in a game like this, Fallout 3, or better example would probably be the game Red Dead Redemption. Or, actually, here's another good example. Give me another second. Let me get this. Okay. Another good example would be Grand Theft Auto. These games. You can be a drug dealer. You can sell drugs and, have to shoot people from time to time. But you can have an honor system. You can be a good guy. Yeah, you're selling drugs, but you're not selling them to kids. Yeah, you shot that guy over there, but he was a danger to society. Maybe you're selling crack, but you're not doing it to kids. You refuse to sell it to kids. That guy over there is selling crack to kids all the time. That guy over there, you just saw beat a prostitute near to death. You just saw beat his wife near to death. You just saw him shoot a prostitute. That guy's not a good guy. You don't do that. You respect women. You keep business and home life separate. Your wife knows, she knows what you do, but she's not part of it. And if the cops ever came knocking to your door, you would hands up and go, because you work on a system of honor. You donate your money to things. You donate your money to charities, and you even funded a baseball team for the kids in your neighborhood because you don't want them to end up like you. That's a very small scale, but shit, that's kind of heroic, isn't it? See what I'm getting at here? You can be an anti-hero, sort of, in a game like Grand Theft Auto, at least in theory. Same with Red Dead. Somebody has a bounty on somebody, they want him dead or alive. That motherfucker just shot 16 people and you saw him rape a woman a minute ago. Fuck it, go shoot him. Why should you bring him in alive? He's just going to be hung at the neck anyway. And even if he's not, even if he's just going to end up in jail and he's going to get out later, why is he going to change his ways? What motivation does he have to do that? See what I'm getting at? Cool stuff, right? So when does it not work? Got one good example. The game Prototype with Alex Mercer. You see, the reason it doesn't work in this game is because Alex Mercer slays and kills people and is not at all honest about it. He's an asshole. the game is entirely based around you killing people, and then it tries to pass him off as some kind of martyr because he, saved the world. Could that have worked? Maybe. From what I remember of Prototype, they didn't really delve into his psychological damage. He kills people, he's fine with it, he doesn't give a shit. And maybe he's supposed to be some kind of secret agent or something. But he's absorbing fucking human beings. I think that it would warrant a little bit of exploration into this character's emotional and mental state. And doing something that where you can, and something like that where you can show this character legitimately feels bad, and the game offers more than just mindlessly fucking killing people. Stuff like that. It doesn't, but if it did, it'd be interesting, and I think and that is a good example of when an anti-hero doesn't work. When the story tries to pass this guy who is reveling in killing and maiming and injuring and absorbing human beings and is loving it and is just, there's no real redeeming quality to the guy. They try to pass this guy off as some martyr because later in the game he dies and saves the world, or later in the movie he dies, or that's not how it works. You need somebody that you can relate to on some level. You need somebody that's going through a journey that doesn't, like, even in Dexter, who is a very cold and calculating killer, he feels bad for what he's doing. He says what he's doing is monstrous, and he's a good guy. He helps the lady that's a rape victim. He never tries to take advantage of her. He's very good with her kids. And when she dies and they have a kid together, at least I think they have a kid together, but when she dies, he doesn't just up and leave those kids. He takes care of them. Why? Because he's a good person. To a degree. He does what he believes is right, which isn't necessarily right. But there's a conflict in him to a degree, and it can create a conflict in you. And that, my friends, is how an anti-hero works. So, overall, do anti-heroes work in video games? Yes, they can. It's hard. Most of the time it's better to just have the player choose how they want to be. But yes, they can. Prototype, on the other hand, piss poor example. Fun game, piss poor example. Anyway, that's the Vault Dweller when dwelling on things with the Dweller. I'll see you next time in another rant. Over and out, guys.